You're fired. Pack your things and leave, now. The manager's voice cut through the grocery store like a blade. Customers turned to stare. But Brooklyn Hayes didn't move. She was still kneeling on the floor, arms wrapped protectively around a trembling 4-year-old girl whose hands covered her ears, eyes squeezed shut against the fluorescent lights. "I'm not leaving her," Brooklyn said quietly, her voice steady despite the fear coursing through her veins. "Then security will escort you both out." Behind them, a man in an expensive suit stood frozen in the cereal aisle, watching everything unfold. His daughter, his precious Amelia, was having a meltdown in a stranger's arms, and this young woman was about to lose her job because she'd chosen kindness over protocol. An hour earlier, Brooklyn had been restocking shelves, counting down the minutes until her shift ended. At 25, she worked 3 jobs to support herself and her younger brother Caleb, who had severe autism. Their parents had died in a car accident 5 years ago, leaving Brooklyn to navigate a world she didn't understand. Sensory issues, communication barriers, meltdowns in public places where people stared and judged. She'd learned patience the hard way. Learned that sometimes love meant sitting in silence. Learned that the world wasn't built for people like Caleb. When she heard the crying, high-pitched, desperate, she recognized it immediately. That wasn't a tantrum, that was sensory overload. Brooklyn found the little girl in the frozen food aisle, alone, hands clamped over her ears, rocking back and forth. The overhead lights buzzed loudly. A stock boy was using a pallet jack nearby, the mechanical whine cutting through the air. Without thinking, Brooklyn approached slowly, keeping her movements small and predictable. She knelt down 3 feet away, not too close, and waited. "The lights are really bright, aren't they?" Brooklyn said softly. "And that noise, it feels like it's inside your head." The girl's rocking slowed. She peeked through her fingers. Brooklyn pulled off her cardigan and gently held it out. "Would you like to cover your eyes? Sometimes that helps my brother when things get too loud." Tiny hands reached for the sweater. The girl pressed it against her face. "I'm Brooklyn. What's your name?" "Amelia." The voice was muffled, shaking. "Amelia. That's a beautiful name." Brooklyn glanced around. "Where's your grown-up?" "Daddy went to get my special crackers, but then the loud man came with the cart and I couldn't. "I understand. You're doing so good, Amelia, so good." That's when the manager appeared, Mr. Hutchins, a man who valued efficiency over empathy. "What are you doing? Get back to your station." "Sir, she's having a sensory meltdown. I just need a few—" "That's not your responsibility. Where are her parents?" Before Brooklyn could answer, Amelia's distress escalated. She started crying again, louder now, her small body shaking. Brooklyn didn't hesitate. She wrapped her arms around the child, creating a quiet cocoon, and started humming a soft melody she used with Caleb. "You cannot touch a customer's child," Hutchins barked. "That's grounds for immediate termination." "She needs help." "You're fired. Pack your things and leave now." From the end of the aisle, Camden Pierce watched the scene with his heart in his throat. He turned away for 2 minutes, just 2 minutes, to grab Amelia's safe food crackers from the specialty section. His daughter, who had autism and couldn't handle unexpected changes, had wandered off in that brief window. At 33, Camden had built a tech empire, but nothing in his success had prepared him for the moment 2 years ago when doctors explained that Amelia's autism was likely caused by complications during her premature birth. Lack of oxygen, developmental delays, a brain that processed the world differently. His wife, Morgan, couldn't accept it. "She's broken," Morgan had said coldly 6 months after the diagnosis. "I didn't sign up for this." She'd left them both, choosing a life without the burden of a special needs child. Since then, Camden had learned to navigate Amelia's world alone. The weighted blankets, the noise-canceling headphones he always forgot, the safe foods, the meltdowns that left them both exhausted. He'd learned that love wasn't enough. Understanding was what mattered. And now, watching this stranger comfort his daughter with a gentleness that came from true understanding, Camden felt something shift in his chest. He strode forward. "Excuse me." The manager turned. "Sir, I'm handling—" "That's my daughter." Camden's voice was quiet, but carried unmistakable authority. "And this woman just did what I couldn't. She helped her when she needed it most." Brooklyn looked up, meeting his eyes. She saw recognition there, the look of another parent who understood. "I'm sorry," she said quickly. "I know I shouldn't have touched her, but she was so scared." "Don't apologize." Camden knelt beside them. "Amelia, sweetheart, Daddy's here." Amelia launched herself into his arms, still clutching Brooklyn's cardigan. Camden looked at the manager. "You just fired her?" "Company policy clearly states, for helping a child in distress?" Camden's jaw tightened. "What's your name?" "Thomas Hutchins, store manager." Camden stood slowly, Amelia in his arms. "Mr. Hutchins, I'm Camden Pierce. I own the company that supplies the software for your entire chain's inventory and payment systems." He paused, letting that sink in. "I'll be speaking with your regional director about training staff to handle situations involving special needs children with more compassion."
Hutchins paled. Camden turned to Brooklyn. "You work for me now." Brooklyn blinked. What?" "I run a foundation that supports families with autistic children. We need people who understand, not from textbooks, but from lived experience." His voice softened. "My assistant will contact you with details, if you're interested." I have a brother with autism. I know what it's like." Camden's expression shifted. Surprise, then deep understanding. "Then you know why what you did matters. Why it changes everything." Over the following weeks, Brooklyn joined Camden's foundation as a family support coordinator. She worked with parents navigating diagnoses, connected them with resources, and most importantly, she reminded them they weren't alone. Amelia attached to Brooklyn immediately. "You make the world quieter," Amelia said one afternoon, her small hand in Brooklyn's. "That's because I learned from someone special, my brother Caleb. He taught me that different isn't wrong, it's just different." One evening, after a particularly successful support group meeting, Camden found Brooklyn in the break room, staring at a photo on her phone, a young man with a bright smile wearing noise-canceling headphones. "That's Caleb?" Camden asked gently. Brooklyn nodded. "He's 19 now, in a supported living program." Her voice wavered. "I was so scared after our parents died. I didn't know if I could do it. Raise him, advocate for him, make sure he knew he was loved exactly as he is. But you did. Some days I failed, some days I didn't understand, but I never stopped trying." She looked up. "That's what Amelia needs to know, that her dad will never stop trying." Camden sat beside her. "You know what Amelia told me yesterday? She said, 'Brooklyn understands my brain.' In 2 years, no therapist, no specialist has made her feel that understood." His voice cracked. "You gave her something I've been desperately trying to give her, acceptance." "You give her that every day," Brooklyn said firmly. "Every time you learn a new strategy, every time you adjust the world to fit her needs instead of forcing her to fit the world. That's love." 6 months later, the foundation had grown exponentially. They'd helped over 200 families, created sensory-friendly shopping hours at major stores, and trained staff across the state in autism awareness. Amelia thrived. She started speaking more, smiling more, trusting more. One afternoon, as Brooklyn prepared to leave, Amelia ran up and hugged her legs tightly. "Thank you for seeing me," Amelia whispered. Brooklyn knelt down, tears streaming down her face. "Sweet girl, you were always worth seeing." Camden stood nearby, watching the two people who'd transformed his understanding of what family could mean. Not perfect, not easy, but filled with a kindness that healed in ways medicine never could. He approached Brooklyn slowly. "You know, that day in the grocery store, I was so angry at myself for losing sight of her, for failing her." "You didn't fail." "But I did, and you stepped in when I couldn't. I've spent months teaching you to forgive myself for not being perfect. Maybe it's time you do the same." Brooklyn's breath caught. "What do you mean?" "You carry guilt about Caleb, about the times you didn't understand fast enough, react right enough. But Brooklyn, you saved him. You gave him a life filled with love, just like you've given Amelia." The tears came then, years of exhaustion, fear, and guilt finally released. Camden pulled her into a hug, Amelia joining them, and in that moment, three people who understood brokenness discovered something profound, that sometimes the most beautiful families are built not by perfection, but by people who refuse to give up on each other. Sometimes the greatest act of courage isn't saving someone from darkness. It's sitting beside them until they remember light still exists and reminding them they were never meant to face it alone.